Okay, I think it's recording now.
All right. If you lived with the Cherokee, part 2. All right, left off right here. What tools would you use? Kids don't use tools too much nowadays, but they did back in these days, if you were a Cherokee child. Before the new settlers from England and Europe came to America, your tools would have been stones and bones. Boys would use a sharp rock to smooth wood for bows and arrows. Arrowheads were chipped away from a hard stone called flint using the tip of a deer antler. Blowguns were made from cane. Stone axes were used to cut down trees. Bones and bent sticks made good fish hooks. If you look really carefully, sometimes in the woods you can still find arrowheads that the Cherokee made around here. Girls used sharp stones to cut tall cane stalks into long, thin pieces. They would then strip off the thin outer skin and weave the strips into baskets or mats. The mats used at home or in religious ceremonies were dyed with colors made from berries, nuts, and roots. A girl might make her own hoe for the garden by tying a flat stone onto a stick with a strip of leather. They used bone needles for sewing clothes. When the new settlers came, the Cherokee stopped using stone and bone tools. Instead, they traded animal skins for sharp steel axes, steel hoes, iron cooking kettles, metal fish hooks, and steel sewing needles. What did you eat? Wonder what they ate, huh? I think we talked about this a little bit. Remember when we did our Cherokee village? There was plenty to eat in Cherokee country, and you could eat whenever you were hungry. There were no regular meal times. Depending on the time of year, you would have plums, grapes, berries, mushrooms, wild greens, persimmons. That's a fruit that grows on some trees around here still. Nuts and wild potatoes. Corn was a favorite meal, cooked in soups and stews, ground into meal to make bread. Beans, pumpkins, squash, and sunflower seeds from your garden would also taste good. You could add honey or maple sap boiled into syrup to sweeten your food. Meat came from the animals of the forests, meadows, and streams. Deer, bear, elk, buffalo, squirrels, birds, frogs, fish, mussels, and crayfish. Guys ever found a crayfish in one of the creeks around here? How did you hunt and fish? Hunting was the work of men and boys. They used bows and arrows to hunt large game such as deer. Sometimes they used spears. Blowguns and darts were also used to hunt smaller animals, rabbits, groundhogs, squirrels, and birds. Before a Cherokee boy could use a bow and arrow, he first had to prove his skill with a blowgun. See how he's blowing that? And see, he's blowing the arrow out. He could do that really fast. It would come out really hard. Fishing was another important skill. You might use bone hooks or box traps made of cane to catch trout, catfish, and other fish. There was even a way to get fish without using a hook or a trap. First, a dam could be built across a stream. Then, horse chestnut juice would be put into the water. The juice put the fish to sleep. You would wade in and pick out just the fish you needed. Then the dam was knocked down and the running water woke up the remaining fish, which swam away. I did not know that. That's interesting. Were there special hunting ceremonies? Yes. When hunters were going off on a big hunt, the whole village took part in animal dances. These dances were held to make certain that the hunt would be successful. That's what they thought would work. There were different dances for different animals. The beaver dance and the raccoon dance acted out the hunting and killing and skinning of these animals. The buffalo hunt dance was performed by men and women acting like a bull and cow buffaloes. The deer dance was a fall favorite. The Cherokee believed bears had once been human, and they were the 8th Cherokee clan. Interesting. Because of the Cherokee belief that animals had their own spirits, it was important to show respect for their lives. Before a man could hunt, he had to pray to the animal spirits and ask permission to take their lives. If there was trouble with the hunt, the people believed something had gone wrong with their ceremonies and prayers. I don't know if they didn't really know the one true God, but some of them might have really, really wanted the truth, and I believe God speaks to them if you really, really want to know what truth is. In the early times, Cherokee men hunted only for the food and skins that they needed to survive. After the new settlers came, they hunted more beaver, more bear, and more deer for skins to trade. Animal skins were in such a great demand that in 1 year the Cherokee traded over 1 million deer skins. Whoa! How did you make a canoe? That was a pretty cool boat, huh? You needed a canoe to fish or travel on the many rivers. You could use a dugout canoe. A dugout canoe was a canoe made from one long log. The best wood was poplar or pine. We have a lot of poplar and pine trees around here. First, the tree would be cut down and the trunk shaped to a point at each end. Then fire was used to hollow it out. Dugout canoes were made in many sizes. Small canoes held 2 people. Large canoes could hold 15 to 20 people. Some even held 35. You would use a long pole to push against the river bottom to move your dugout. Most dugout canoes were too heavy to be carried, so they were kept on the same river. If you had no canoe and had to cross a river, you would build a raft from a bear or buffalo skin. Then you would tie the legs of the skin together at each end to make a raft. You would put your belongings on top. Then you would swim across the river, pushing your raft through the water. How did you get around in the forests? The lower mountains and valleys were crisscrossed with trails. Some of them probably are here even to this day. Many of the forest trails were made by deer and other animals. Thousands of Cherokee feet made trails smooth near the villages. The trails connected all of the Cherokee villages. Many led to the lands of other tribes, too. Some trails were very long and ran for miles through Cherokee territory. The Great Warrior's Path ran north to south through Cherokee country. The Cherokee and other tribes used the Great Warrior's Path for swift raids against their enemies. The higher mountains were very rugged, and there were fewer trails. We do have very steep, kind of rocky mountains, very rocky mountains actually around here. Did the Cherokee ride horses? Horses were not in much use in the mountains where the Cherokee lived, so they were not as important as they were to the Sioux and the Plain Indians. They lived more out west. The Cherokee did have horses. People today talk about a breed called the Cherokee pony that may have been raised in Cherokee villages. Who were your enemies? Your greatest enemies were the neighboring Choctaw and Creek, but you might also fight the Chickasaw, Shawnee, or Seneca. War played an important role in Cherokee life. Men and women could be warriors. It would be up to you whether you would go to war or not. No one could make you fight if you did not want to. Warriors usually went to war to seek revenge for the death of a clan member. After a war dance, you and your companions would walk single file through the woods to your enemy's village. You would call to one another with bird calls or animal noises. Once you had taken your enemy by surprise, you would kill only as many of the enemy as they had killed of your clan. Then you went home. However, the enemy would want revenge and attack you again. Then you would attack in return. Goodness, it sounds like it would never end. To prepare for war, young Cherokee were made to endure cold, pain, and hunger. They had to listen politely while respected warriors told of their past deeds. If you were a good warrior, you might earn the title of Raven if you were a boy, or beloved woman if you were a girl. The Cherokee people were involved in many wars. Europeans fought for control of America. In 1754, they sided with the English against the French.